Welcome everybody to today's video. We have thankfully a familiar face. I'm sure a lot of you investors are going to know this man. We have Steve Barnes on the channel. Steve, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. I'm excited to have you. I have my Lordstown hat on. I have the Lordstown hat on. Well, Steve, what we really want to speak about today, January 28th, we got the Lordstown Motors Business Update. And I think there's a lot of exciting things coming on. I can only imagine that you guys are extraordinarily busy, but I'm just going to try and get some extra little bits of information out of you. That's what I have to do today.
All right.
Okay, cool. So we'll start from the start. You initiated the metal stamping and welding for the first 57 endurance beta prototypes. So what does the factory look like now? Since the last time me and you spoke, I'm sure a lot of things have changed, but what's happening in the factory right now?
Well, I think, if you're not familiar with the automotive process, by the time you start cutting metal, that's why it's such a big deal when you start cutting metal, because you have to build the tool and the die. A flat sheet of metal comes in, a fender comes out, right? Well, this thing that comes down like that has got to be so hard, right? So that it can do that lots of times and not wear down. So these are very expensive to make.
Okay.
So you do not make them until you're sure, right? Yeah. Even when you think you're sure, you pull down and this metal stretches over here. And so it really, by the time you are to that point, you've designed your whole vehicle, right? You can't stamp the first piece until the whole thing is designed. And in our case, we've tested it with prototypes and alphas, and we're confident enough to go ahead and start stamping metal. And you have to start that process months ago to start building these tools. So it's really an exciting point. And we're making 57 betas. Everybody says, why 57? And 17 are going into the wall for crash testing, right? And again, you don't crash test with prototypes and everything because they are not, representative enough of the final vehicle. You don't want to waste a crash test, right? So you only crash test when you're really close, and so we're close enough to start crash testing. So it's so 57 go to crash. There's brake testing the government has to do, so you have to do all the brake testing and the headlight testing and the frost testing and and then some go into durability, start pounding the hell out of them, make sure they're going to hold up. And so it's really, very few people get to beta, right? I think only one person's gotten to mass production, that's Tesla, right? And in non-big three world. And so we're really excited, and it, hitting September production, you have to be in beta at this point. So it's holding together.
We're going to get to see some nice PR videos of you just kicking the vehicle a bit then, just to see what happens.
Yeah. Well, we're trying to leave a lot of breadcrumbs.
Yeah.
Brittany and Amy are on here, and we showed a snowplow video the other day, right? We're trying to show progression. And we'll start to show as the bodies start to come together. It's called a body in white, right? It doesn't have side panels on it, but it's the core, it's the skeleton underneath where all the regulatory and the crash testing is. So anyway, this is the result of all the engineering and all the prototyping and all the alpha, and now you start making metal.
Yeah, so this really is kind of the final stage of the first stage. It's what needs to happen now to get us to that production that we've all been looking towards in September.
Yep.
Awesome. Absolutely fantastic. So I think everybody's going to be very happy with that update. And I personally can't wait to see you trying to beat up an endurance truck anyway. So hopefully we get to see that one soon. But so that's the update on the truck. Everything's awesome. Happy days. Now, one thing that is new since me and you last spoke is obviously everything that's going on with Camping World. So I'd be interested in if you could just elaborate on that relationship and where it kind of came from and what we can expect over the years.
Yeah, thanks. Because I think it takes some explaining because it's a little different here at Camping World. It doesn't immediately invoke thoughts of pickup trucks.
I was a bit confused.
We sell to fleets, and we have to tell a fleet that if it breaks, if you wreck it, there's a place to service it. Right, that they need that comfort because they depend on uptime, high uptime of their vehicles. So the traditional way is you slowly roll out your own service centers, like Tesla did, for example. That is takes a while and takes a lot of capital, a lot of real estate, and then so we look to see if there's any partners. Is there any way we can kind of, who else has a footprint of service centers, good mechanics, is used to having big iron on their lot? And absent of, you can't go to a Ford or a Chevy dealer or a Chrysler dealer. So absent of that, who has that sort of capability? And Camping World really fit well into that. They have to be able to service any camper that comes in there, right, from almost any brand. And if a family's stuck on a mountain in the middle of the night and their RV is broken down, Camping World has these mechanisms, 24-hour hotlines, and they can deploy people quick. And fleets need that same, probably not in the middle of the night, but they need that quick, tentacle that can go out and help them. So Camping World already had all that buttoned down, and so it's a great fit. And our next vehicle is a van, which I'm sure you're going to ask me about. And that dovetailed it into, maybe we should do the first electric RV as well, right? So the first incarnation of the van is for an RV. Obviously, Camping World would be great to sell the first electric RV.
Okay, absolutely awesome. So that's the main thing. They're there for the service systems, and it means that quicker. We all of the fleets that you guys are obviously talking about that are putting in the orders, you can deliver to them quicker.
Yeah, and service. And the CEO of Camping World is very engaged. If you have the CEO's engagement, it helps a lot. It can really drive through the whole organization. He has a national footprint of these places, and we have his attention. He's really fired up about it. So it's a good fit.
Oh, I've seen it. We've seen him be very vocal about it on Twitter and stuff in particular. So I think that's very exciting. I mean, we need the good executives, Steve. So we need them. Well, I suppose you just brought up the electric van, and I think that's one thing that I am very, very interested in finding out about. So obviously it's going to be an electric camper van of sorts, the first one.
Well, let's say a Sprinter. Think of a Sprinter, right? Sprinter just makes a Sprinter. Yep. Some people make RVs out of them. Some florists deliver stuff in them. Plumbers use them. Delivery folks use them. But Sprinter just makes a Sprinter.
Yep.
We are just making a van, but the first incarnation of it is going to be an RV sold by Camping World. But we want to be better than any, not just electric, right? So this, 4-wheel drive, very low floor. So you don't have trip hazards going in and out of it. You get a lot more space inside because the floor is lower for the same height. And cargo space or cubic feet space is very, very important to these folks, right? So we're going to have the best in class cubic footage, best traction, of course, with 4-wheel drive, all electric. So I think it's a great fit.
Yeah, you don't like doing things by half. We want the best of the best.
Yeah, I think what I found is you're going to really move the needle in something.
Yeah.
We of course live on the economies, right? We say this thing gets 75 miles per gallon equivalent, right? Yep. And in the endurance world, you tell a fleet guy you get 75 miles per gallon in this truck, right? And they've been living with these 15 mile per gallon trucks their whole life. So basically you have them at hello when you say that. But it's cool to also say it's going to have the best traction. It's going to be the safest. It's going to be the best handling, of course, zero emissions. So I think it's really cool to say, don't buy it just because of the economies. Buy it because it's the best truck you can get. Yeah. And we're going to try to do the same on the van.
That's very, very exciting. And I think that's what's made these pre-orders go up so quickly as well. It's been absolutely crazy just following along, in all honesty. So I remember I think the first number we had from you guys was when the initial investor presentation came out, was something around to like 28,000. And then I remember it just kept going up and up and up. And it was immense. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and again, all those numbers are just commercial fleets.
Yeah,
it doesn't count, a municipality, state vehicles, federal vehicles, military vehicles. All those folks use a lot of pickup trucks, and most of them use them in a local, fashion.
Yeah.
So the range is perfect for them. So they can't do pre-orders. Just they're government entities. So that 100,000 that we've announced doesn't even count all that.
Yeah, geez, so that's literally just their fleets.
Yeah, that's just commercial fleets.
I don't think anybody's going to be upset to hear that piece of news, though. That's awesome. And what's the average order at now? Was it 600 the latest?
Yeah, that's on the commercial side. Yeah,
600 on the commercial side. And would there be a few bigger names in there that you can share, or would it be a lot of bits and pieces going on?
Well, I think we just shared a few of them, like Duke Energy was a big one. Serve Pro was a big one. We're going to, I think we're either going to give a list of them or name a few more key of the ones, but you know, right now we're trying to keep it as a big number, and for our purposes, the reason you do pre-orders, right? This business of tooling up, right? All the money you spend on tooling, you tool based on how many you're going to sell. Right? And let's say it's a normal business and you get caught by surprise and people want your product more than you had planned to build, right? You find a way. In this business, it's a year lag time, right? You've got to plan a year ahead of time. So, and I think Musk invented this, and it's really brilliant. Let's give them a good feel for what this vehicle is and ask them, would you order it if we make it for this price and in this time frame and these specs? And that lets us know, that appetite lets us know what to tool for. Okay. So we've been really surprised by these numbers. So we are been trying to prepare to build more than we originally had planned. The factory we have can do it. It used to make 400,000 cruises a year. Yeah. But we're doing things in this factory that it's never done. Like we have a giant battery pack building we're doing in here, right? Yes. A gigafactory, right? We're making our own electric hub motors in here, right? So these you have to plan for these things, and we have cleared 800,000 square feet inside of here. So I think we'll have the second biggest, gigafactory next to Tesla in the United States. Think about that. I mean,
it's absolutely huge, and that brings me nicely onto something that I've wondered and I've kind of spoken about on here a couple of times, is the initial expectations that you guys had set for yourself in regards to production. I know obviously now we're at the stage where we're trying to get everything there. Do you guys plan on potentially trying to beat the numbers you had set out for yourselves beforehand?
We are trying to beat them, right? But you don't just, you have to plan for it. So it's a balance of what do you spend now in order to do this. Yeah. And again, we're going to have this first mover advantage, right? We're going to be the first full-size electric pickup truck. And so we want to grab as much market share as we can. Why we're the only, why we have that first market. Get all those miles, get all those happy customers, get that feedback, come out with versions 2, 3, and 4 by the time a competitor comes out with version 1. Yeah. And that's how you build a lead that's really tough to catch, right? So we want these vehicles in as many people's hands as we can. So we are trying to figure out how to do more without spending too much more in CapEx up front.
Fantastic. And I just want to backtrack a small bit, but we spoke about the metal stamping and welding for the first 57 beta prototypes. What would be the next step after that? Say you've done the crash testing, the validation testing, etc. What comes next? What's in between that and September?
Right. So it's called pre-production. Right. These are basically production vehicles that you start to put on the road. Okay. Right. With maybe some early customers, that sort of thing. And this is your final before you're going to push the button and go into production. So that's in summer. I think I think it's June or July. We start pre-production. Okay. And that is, if betas are 96% the final vehicle, pre-productions are in the 99%. Okay. Right. At the end of the day, if you even change a knob, you might have to re-crash test, right? So you want to, by the time you get down to the final, you want to be the vehicle.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
The 96th percentile betas are, as far as structural and steel and all that, they should be the same.
We've seen them, and again, I think a lot of people have been very happy lately. Whoever's in charge of the social media, I think a lot of people would like to give them a big clap as of late. I know there's been a lot more going on over the last few weeks, and things like that really fill people with confidence. And I even know that me as an investor, I just love seeing it pop up on my feed. I love just seeing the truck. I really do.
What do you think of the snowplow video? Did you see that?
Yeah. I thought it was things like that though. They're cool to watch. You know what I mean? I remember you were in one not too long ago.
Well, that's the thing, Jack. I don't know if we're articulating this the best we can. We're not just coming out with another electric vehicle. We're coming out with a new kind of electric vehicle. This hub motor-based beast has never been done before. And when you've never been done, a lot of people say, well, then why hasn't it ever been done? There must be some reason. Right? It's like everything in life, you got to engineer for it. But the end result is the traction that comes in this. So we show a light skateboard, being able to do heavy duty snow plowing because the traction is so good, right? And, it's just a remarkable vehicle. It drives, in the snow, trying to make a fishtail. You can't even make it fishtail because those front tires are all grabbing. Everything is, it's very difficult to make it break loose. And so we really, I thought the naked skateboard without the body on it would let people start to get a feel for what we're talking about here.
Oh, that was very, very, it was just to see it was awesome. To see the vehicle look like that, the intricacies of it, and just cruising through the snow. No, it'd be harder to make it spin out than to not, basically.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's really cool.
That's cool. That's cool. So a lot of exciting things coming vehicle wise, but with the endurance truck, obviously, and then the new van. One more thing I'd like if you could clear it up, because I get asked about this an awful lot, is in regards to being added to the General Service Administration listing. So that's obviously in regards to being able to sell to government fleets. Would you give us just in simple people's terms exactly what this means?
Well, a government, whether it's state, local, or municipal, I think even police departments, can only buy vehicles are on this special list, right?
Yeah.
Government service list, GSA. And GSA has certain parameters of what you have to meet to be on this list. And so there aren't many electrics on this list, right? And I think to date, there hasn't been much incentive for a government fleet person, gets measured on, what is the price of these vehicles that you're putting your folks in, right? And they don't get credit for if this vehicle also saves a lot of gasoline, right? And I think with the current administration, I think that's what they're trying to change. So it's, you can look beyond just the purchase price. Even though our purchase price is very attractive, when you add in the fuel savings, it just goes through the roof, right? And so I think there's going to be more motivation for these government agencies. For example, I think the state of California has taken it on their own, and they've already said all state vehicles must be electric. Yep. The only asterisk to not do that is if there isn't an electric version of that truck, right? So the state of California is buying gasoline pickup trucks because there is no electric pickup truck. So that's the kind of low-hanging fruit we want to go into and really enjoy. Again, you work so hard to be first. Yeah. You want to enjoy that first mover market advantage.
Certainly. And so essentially then we spoke about the fact that all of the numbers we have so far are in regards to these fleets, and you can't sell to government, etc. So being on this list, and then once we're actually at regular production, we're not at 99%, we're at 100%. Is that when you can start actually selling to these type of guys?
No, we feel that when the betas come out, right, since they're going to be 96%, it's fair to start taking orders. Okay. So not pre-orders, orders from government entities. We're on the list. This is the vehicle. You know what you're getting. Because when you put the orders, when you get in line for and a lot of people want to be in these early deliveries, right? Let's say a fleet has ordered 600, right? Yep. We might not give them 600 of the first, we're only going to do about 2,500 vehicles in 21. Yep. So from September to the end of the year, we're going to go easy, make sure everything's working well. So we're going to put out about 2,500 vehicles. And we want to get, let's say again, a fleet's ordered 600, right? We might say, well, we're going to give you 25 of these first ones. Let's get it in there and start using them. So we want to have as many fleets as we can have these vehicles, and municipalities and government vehicles as well, right? And we think it's going to make a great police vehicle, for example, right? Yeah. So police vehicles idle a lot to keep their laptops and everything going, right? Okay. Yep. And so as it turns out, police vehicles as the whole on their day get horrendously bad mileage because they're idling all the time. And you don't have to do that with an electric vehicle. So we think, and I've seen a fair number of not electric, but pickup truck police vehicles. Yep. So we want to get some in there, right? The military is quite interested in our product, right? Cool. Because of its capabilities, right? Its traction, right? Its speed. It's of course zero footprint, might be able to pull stuff out of the battery if the base should go down, something like that. So a lot of military interest as well.
So we have an awful lot of interest absolutely everywhere.
I mean, that is the interest is not the problem anymore, right? Yeah. Now it's all production.
That's not the worst complaint in the whole world to have. It's not the worst complaint. I'd like to ask you in regards to pre-orders, because this is something that again I get asked about quite a bit. What do you think if you had to estimate the sort of conversion rate would be on them? because a lot of people often bring up the point to me, it's like they're only pre-orders, you know, they're not orders as of yet. And I obviously can't give a very educated guess as I'm not in the industry. So I'm wondering if you'd be able to shed some light on that.
Well, all I can tell you is these big ones, right? If a company orders 600 pre-orders, right?
Yeah.
That is signed by the CEO of that company on likelihood, or at least some C-suite person, right? They take it very seriously. They've got to figure out how they're going to lay these electrics in there. And the appetite for them to do that way early like that, a year out front, some of them, means they're trying to do their part to ensure this comes to market, right? So they're standing behind it and they're putting this pre-order. But I'd say it's much stickier than a consumer putting $100 down refundable on a cybertruck, let's say. I think these orders are very, very sticky because I know what it takes to get them, right? The education you have to do. This isn't somebody, again, on a website, $100 refundable credit card. You know, this is a fleet.
Yes.
And fleets generally take their business very, very seriously. So, so I think they're very sticky. Conversion rate, I can't really handicap it.
Yeah.
I think I can say safely that we're going to sell more than we can make.
Yeah, that's not too bad at all.
That's the overwhelming thing we have to remember.
Yeah. I think yeah, the way you explain this absolutely perfectly. It's not just me or the everyday person going onto a website and saying, "Oh, that's a shiny vehicle. I'll put $100 down. I'll see if I want it in a year's time." I've tried to explain this for them. It's literal people's jobs to look at every single option that's out there, the fleet managers, and pick the one that they want. So they're not going to waste their time putting a 600 vehicle order with everybody. You know, so as you said, very sticky, exciting. One more thing I'm actually personally interested in. You touched off it a little bit earlier, but it's in regards to the factory. I know you've been doing lots of renovation. The battery line in particular, because this is something we did speak about the last time we spoke. How are things developing there? But also, how is that going to really help us going forwards?
Well, in something like a electric truck, the battery is big, right? And so I don't think it's a shock to most people that the battery is the most expensive component of the vehicle, right? And so we have to be very, very smart. Again, we're not doing the typical scenario where we come out at a luxury price point, sell luxury, and then say with volume, we'll move down into more practical pricing. First day, we're at practical pricing. So we really have to be maniacal on our costs. So we're vertically integrating. That's why we make our motors in-house. That's why we make our battery packs in-house. We have to control the supply, right? Let's say we were buying our battery packs, right? And that supplier has a problem. We can't just we can't run out and get another one somewhere. The battery pack is really tightly integrated into the vehicle. So it gives a little strength to the chassis, so we can make the chassis a little thinner. All that engineering is versus I'm just buying a square from somebody and trying to put it in there. So it is a huge part of the vehicle, right? If you're an electric vehicle maker, your battery pack's everything. So we have to control supply, quality, cost. So that's why we are spending what we're spending to build our own pack facility. And so the way you get, there's I think 6,600 cells in each Endurance. Right? Each cell has to be handled by a robot, scanned, tested, put in, welded. Make sure all the heating, the cooling of it, all the electronics. It's a lot, right? And it's a very it's a lot of work. So it's a lot of robots, right? Still a human touch, but we're really like the laser bonding that we're doing instead of the welding, right? Is really state of the art. I think even the Reno Gigafactory does not do that. I think the future Gigafactories are going to do it, but we're able to. Everybody says, well, you think you're smarter than, let's say, a Tesla, right? No, but we get the benefit of seeing what they've done, right? Seeing the billions of miles on the road of their battery packs. Can we tweak it, make it a little better, right? And so that's what hindsight gets to do for you, right? And then you add your own little secret magic to it, and so we have to control it. It's a big pack. And it's integral, so we must make it ourselves. And the only way to make these is to automate. Like the rest of this automotive business, it's a volume game. and you tool up before you make your first dollar. You spend all this engineering on the product, all this engineering then on production of it, right? So that you can make it at a reasonable cost and consistency. So every vehicle is the same, right? So then you get happy customers out in the field, and you just have to spend all that up front. And that's where most people don't have the resources to do that. And that's why you don't see many small car companies in America.
Yeah. So it's being willing to do that investing. And it's this, I think we've seen an absolutely immense level of vertical integration. And I think that's really what's going to help us, well, help you guys obviously get their actual first to market. A lot of people say they're going to be first to market, say we have this advantage, but we can see it happening right now, especially with the talk we're having today. You really can, and that latest business update. So that's fantastic. And then one or two more things on the factory. How has it just been going, kitting it out in general? Because I know that was a big thing in the presentation.
Great. Well, there's been factories sold, right? Tesla famously bought a factory from Toyota and GM, and I think Rivian bought one from Mahindra or somebody like that had been closed. Mitsubishi been closed for a while. So they're buying gutted factories, right?
Yep.
To buy a fully functional factory, we don't think has ever happened, right? This scale. So a lot of people were, why? How could you have gotten that deal? Is it old technology in there? And GM had obviously, I think it was the third most productive factory in the United States of America, right? Putting out 400,000 vehicles a year. And so they had automated with the best, right? We were really so pleased of the level and the newness of much of the equipment. And GM put it to, and so when you close a factory, you have to put it to sleep professionally. And they put it to sleep professionally. And then they helped us wake it up professionally. And I'd say of the 2,000 robots, 1 or 2 had issues. I mean, it's incredible how everything is so great a shape. All we had to do, not all, we're reprogramming all the robots, and we're getting all the new fixtures to hold our pieces as the robots weld them, and building our stamping tooling and all that. But there were pinch points where a Chevy Cruze could fit through something, but a pickup truck could not, right? We had some pinch points. That was a little tricky, but we knew that going in. So that's all done. We have no more pinch points. And there's an immense amount of work between now and September, but I don't see any showstoppers, right?
Yeah.
I've had businesses where you progress line, and then you're like this big, and you say, and somebody says, well, what's that? You're like, well, that's where the miracle has to happen, right? And we don't have any of those. It's a nice, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And we need a lot of everything, including, grace of God, but no showstoppers.
That's fantastic. And we've seen that. I mean, a lot of the time when we're looking at companies at a similar stage of the life cycle that you guys are, there's big ups and there's big downs, but we have just seen slow and steady. Especially, I think the pre-orders are a really good gauge. They just keep going up, and every business update we get, something exciting comes out, and it's happening every month or so. We're not waiting for the next quarterly report or anything. It's constantly coming out. There's always something happening.
Yeah. Well, and that's why the Camping World thing, our first kind of partnership with somebody, all that we're focusing on making a great vehicle, but after the vehicle sale, right, you need support, right?
Yeah.
And that's a whole endeavor in itself to give great support. And so partnering with somebody that's already got the 2,000 mechanics and the service bays and the mentality that they want to get into electric. So their folks are going to come to our university, learn it well. So I'm thinking, what other partnerships can we do like that? Because it's worked out so well. So if we're going to, again, move the needle and be significant here, we have to give great comfort to our customers. Yeah. I think the people that have ordered 100,000 of these, the specs are good, right? So a lot of people say to us, 250 miles, that seems kind of lame compared to the newest, XYZ consumer vehicle. Our RV is going to go much farther than that, right? We could make our endurance pickup truck go much further than that. But to somebody that uses it to go around in a municipality, working on things, and they drive 60 miles a day, a 400 or 500 mile pack would be wasteful.
Yeah.
Be too heavy. Now you can't tow as much, cost too much. Suddenly it costs more than a Ford 150. So trying to come in at the price point of a Ford 150, right?
Yeah.
A gas Ford 150 that, you know, has all the volume that you could possibly want, and they sell it for X, right? And we're coming out with our version 1.0 sells for that same amount.
Yeah.
And we're also saying it has better traction than that other thing, right? Better 0 to 60, better handling, right? Better handling. Think about that, right?
Yeah.
That's, I don't say those lightly. You can
Yeah.
imagine the engineering hours that have gone into the Ford 150.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's an incredible machine. And so the arrogance to come out and say our version 1.0 is going to handle better. Well, I got a low center of gravity, right? And the computer watching these four wheels and driving them just to perfection, and we handle better, right? We did a little kind of a little tug of war with them.
Yeah.
And you know, we didn't know how it was going to go.
Yeah.
And to be honest, would we have published that video if we lost? Probably not.
No.
But I was driving the endurance prototype. So this is our prototype, right? Our version 0.03, right? Not even version 1.0.
Yeah.
And to yank a Ford 150 across the field, you know, it really, you're like, how can this be, right? And it's just because a little bit of Ford's bringing no, Ford doesn't know we're doing it, of course, but the guy driving the Ford is bringing a knife to a gunfight, right? There is no way a conventional, the best all-wheel drive, internal combustion, routing that power mechanically to each wheel. So wasteful, right? So A, it's wasteful, it's inefficient. And B, it's just not optimal traction. Everybody thinks I jumped the gun on that video, right? Because endurance starts moving first. It's just that when you go like that, you get instant torque on those motors, right? And the internal combustion has to rev up and do all that. So it's just a different, anybody that drives the prototype, right? And by the way, part of the reason the orders are going like this is we got a prototype out and people drive it. And if they drive it, I think it's fair to, you know, it's of course not 100%, but if a fleet manager drives it, we usually get an order.
Yeah.
Because I think what they're not expecting, I think they're driving it just to say, check box, yes.
Yeah.
Drives, right? I don't think they're expecting that it drives so well. And it kind of grabs you. So you quickly realize you're in kind of electric vehicle 2.0. It's a different field.
Awesome. Oh, that's fantastic. I think that's exciting. I remember the tug of war video. It got a lot of traction. That was a fun one. That was a very fun one.
Pardon the pun. A lot of traction. In fact, I only have about 2 minutes here.
That's okay. Right. Finish it off, Steve. Is there anything that we didn't cover today that you'd like to let the people know?
You know, a lot of people ask, as we are starting to get closer here, you know, how can any little company compete with their traditional companies, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, we have seen that in this space where everything's changing so fast, right? Every day there's a new sensor, a new battery, a new motor, a new this, new software, right? Right? In other words, the space is we're just scratching the surface, right? Well, if you're a traditional car company with 4-year plans to do your vehicles, right, it's very difficult to navigate, right? If you're about to go into production and the flux capacitor comes out, right, what do you do? Right? And so I think being dedicated, right, dedicated to our craft, we don't have to serve two masters. I don't have to serve gasoline and electric, right?
Yep.
One craft, and then with us, one vehicle. Right, the endurance. Right? We are maniacally focused on this endurance, and we don't have leather, right? We don't have any. We have one trim package, right? We just picked the most common trim package. You know, the big back seat, the crew seat, the medium bed. You know, the #1 internal combustion configuration, and that's what we got. Right?
Yep.
And I think we struck the right balance. The other thing is, you could go all through this, and if it's ugly, or if it's too radical, people won't buy it.
Yeah.
So there's a subjective part of cars, the look.
Yep.
And for example, we decided to stay pretty much like a conventional pickup truck.
Yeah.
Right. We have a hood, and we use that hood for a frunk, right? Which a pickup truck, no pickup truck guys ever had a trunk before, right? Just that is really cool for these folks.
Yeah.
But the Cybertruck, right? Really pushed the envelope with this, right?
Yeah.
And for fleet customers, we thought that was maybe a bridge too far, right? And it doesn't lend itself to the work that you usually do with a pickup truck. So I think in addition to all the engineering and all the production, the things you're talking about, and all the big capital expenditures that you do, and all the regulatory and all the crash testing, a lot of times it comes down to the look.
Yeah.
And so the other thing that the pre-orders do is validate the look. These folks are saying, I'll take that look, right? And I'll put my name on the side of that pickup truck when we put it on the street proudly, right? So I think we got the look covered. I think we got the engineering covered, the production covered. So I think we will be, by a couple of years, the first full-size electric pickup truck.
What a way to finish it off, Steve. What a way to finish it off. But I'd like to thank you so much for coming on the channel again. I'm sure everybody's going to appreciate this, Steve. And I, of course, wish you and the team the best going forward. I'll be looking forward to more updates.
Jack, I do have to say, I don't know your demographics of who watches you.
Yeah.
But I assume since you're young, you're catering a lot to the young folks. And to start to educate them, that generation on this is what we need. The whole industry needs the young ones to start to realize I don't want two tailpipes coming out of the back of my car. And so I think I just want to thank you for your evangelization that you do, and I think it's great.
So that honestly means the world, Steve. No, thank you very, very much.
All right. Okay, man.
Have a fantastic day, man. Have a fantastic day.